Hello again and welcome to Queen's Brexit. I'm Thomas Darwood. This is my Plan 3. The tide in Brexit leads to a flood and fortune, but this flood is centred upon what I've described as Christianity's conclusive message. And if you look at the two dovetails, you see what I'm trying to state, that the female dovetail, the traditional image of Christianity centered upon religion, upon the figure of Christ and the church, but I believe that is only 10% of the Christian message. The 90% alludes to the male dovetail, and there I hope you can see instantly how it can benefit humanity in a way that the traditional legacy of Christianity is now completely dormant. So if you join the two together as a single entity, you have what I regard as a relationship, if we choose, with the Lord Jesus Christ, as I have, and my father had, and my mother had. But the custodianship is another choice almost imposed upon us because of the gift of art and science, which empowered us to overcome all the demands of life in real time, and this is unleashing the flood which will give to Brexit immense fortune. Now Christianity is on the decline because it is represented by the female dovetail, its inception centered upon Christ to denote a relationship with God. Now today religion offers little appeal to society. To the church it is a trauma. In this sense it is like Brexit, a tide of trauma. When Christianity recognizes that the male dovetail is 90% of its message, it will unleash the flood of appeal from humanity, whom instantly recognizes the benefits alluded to. So Christianity now has 100% appeal, and 90% of it is relative to humanity, because it can see the benefits of art and science, which was the original intention hid in the allegorical story of Adam and Eve. Brexit is about Britain leaving the European Union into the wider world, with chiefly trade deals in mind, and the USA at the back of Britain's mind. The flood which will unleash fortune will not only benefit Britain but also the European Union and the United States. But this flood is centered upon unleashing custodianship as the Church's new and invigorating message to the world, not to usurp Christ, but to add to Christ the figure of Adam. This allegorical Adam represents humanity, endowed with the gift of comprehension to service the call to duty, the ability to overcome all the demands of life in real time, inspired of the legacy of great art and great science in the Renaissance and the Enlightenment respectively. This is Christianity's conclusive message, realized historically as below, in how it panned out to three great entities: Britain, Europe and the United States of America. Here you can see the picture of a cricketer about to unleash a serve. The run-up created the British as a reserved people led by the monarchy, the Church of England and Parliament. Their greatest achievement collectively rests upon the legacy of the British Empire, which reflected a nation well-rounded in all aspects of human endeavour. The release created the Europeans as individual nations with diverse character in their exuberance and spontaneity, which is reflected profoundly in their great works of art and great science. This influenced their cultural fabric, reflected as example in their focus on life based upon beauty and pleasure, whilst the British emphasised work as more important. The follow-through created Americans as uninhibited by any form of restraint, political or cultural, which is why their greatest attribute as a nation of individuals and their genuine pursuit of freedom and liberty based upon individual merit. But this was also inspired of the culture of Britain and Europe, and its chief religion Christianity, but all reinterpreted as America. The significance of Christianity's conclusive message to Brexit. The greatest legacy of Britain is the British Empire, strode in concert with the magnificence of European culture based upon art and science, and their relative rebirth in the creation of America. This is Christianity's conclusive message, as illustrated in the dovetails, transfigured from theology to reality. Its construct is based upon a dual form of salvation, given to Christianity 90% greater appeal. On Good Morning Britain 1903-19, Tony Blair argued Brexit lacked a framework which channels arguments to consensus, which leads to a future vision of Britain's place in the world, which I believe was given a benchmark in the British Empire. Britain's place in the future on the global stage is to reinvent itself, not as motivated by colonial acquisition, but to promote the values of that era, chiefly of entrepreneurial zeal, to initiate a theologically inspired agreement with the European Union, to propagate our mutual horizons upon this global sphere, inclusive of the United States of America.